history of the organic movement from Rodale to today. The history of the organic movement is more than just a timeline of farming techniques. It is a story of a cultural shift, a rebellion against industrialization, and a return to the fundamental truth that human health is inextricably linked to the health of the soil. From the early experiments of pioneers like J.I. Rodale to the multi-billion-dollar global industry we see today, the movement has evolved from a fringe philosophy into a mainstream necessity. The roots of resistance, why organic started. To understand where the organic movement is going, we have to look at what it was reacting against. In the early 20th century, the Green Revolution was beginning to take hold. This was a period defined by the rapid industrialization of agriculture, fueled by the development of synthetic nitrogen fertilizers and chemical pesticides. While these innovations promised and often delivered higher yields, a small group of thinkers began to worry about the long-term cost. They noticed that as chemicals went into the ground, the natural vitality of the soil seemed to vanish. The soil was no longer living an ecosystem at an energy system. And they decided alias becoming a mere substrate for chemical inputs. The pioneers, Albert Howard and Lord Northbourne. Before J.I. Rodale became a household name in the United States, the groundwork was being laid in Europe and India. Sir Albert Howard, a British botanist working in India, is often cited as the father of modern organic agriculture. During his time in Indore, Howard observed traditional Indian farming practices and realized that the secret to sustainable yields wasn't found in a laboratory, but in the law of return. The practice of returning all organic waste, animal and vegetable, back to the soil in the form of compost. In 1940, Lord Northbourne published his seminal work, Look to the Land. It was here that the term organic farming was actually coined. Northbourne didn't just mean farming without chemicals. He viewed the farm as a living organism. He believed farm should be a self-contained, biologically complete unit. If you had to import fertility from the outside, like bagged fertilizer, he argued the farm was no longer an organic whole. J.I. Rodale, the man who brought organic to America. If Howard and Northbourne provided the science and philosophy, J.I. Rodale provided the megaphone. In 1942, Jerome Irving Rodale launched Organic Farming and Gardening magazine in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Rodale was an unlikely agricultural hero. He was a publisher from New York City with a passion for health. He was convinced that the rise of modern diseases was linked to the decline in food quality caused by chemical farming. His mantra was simple but revolutionary. Healthy soil, healthy food, healthy people, the Rodale Institute, and the power of proof. Rodale didn't just write about organic, he practiced it. He established the Rodale Organic Gardening Experimental Farm to prove that you could grow high-quality crops without synthetic inputs. At the time, the agricultural establishment mocked him. The USDA and land-grant universities viewed organic farming as unseen, scientific, kesantotan, superstitious, and lying. However, Rodale was undeterred, and he built a community of organic rebels through his magazines and books. And he understood that to change the world, he had to change the way people thought about their backyards and their dinner plates. The 1960s and 70s, the Great Awakening. For decades, the organic movement remained a quiet, niche community. That changed in 1962 with the publication of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. Carson's expose on the devastating environmental effects of DDT and other pesticides acted as a catalyst. Suddenly, the public began to question the better living through chemistry narrative. Now, this coincided with the counterculture movement of the 1960s. A new generation of back-to-the-landers rejected industrial society and sought a more authentic connection to the earth. For them, organic farming wasn't just a method, it was a political statement. The birth of certification. As the demand for organic food grew, so did a new problem: fraud. How could a consumer in a city know if the organic carrots they bought were actually grown without chemicals? In the early 1970s, regional organizations began to form to solve this. California Certified Organic Farmers, CCOF, and Oregon Tilth were among the first to develop standards. They created a system of third-party verification where inspectors would visit farms to ensure they were following organic protocols. This was the birth of the organic label as a marketing tool. The 1990s, from movement to market. By the late 1980s, the organic market was growing so fast that the patchwork of different state standards was becoming a mess. A certified organic apple in New York might not meet the standards of an organic apple in California. The industry realized it needed a federal standard to thrive. This led to the Organic Foods Production Act of 1990. It took another 12 years of debating and public comment, including a massive protest in the late 90s when the USDA tried to allow the big three, sewage, sludge, irradiation, and GMOs, into the organic definition. But finally, in 2002, the USDA organic seal was born. While federal regulation brought consistency and trust, it also brought big organic. Large corporations began acquiring smaller organic brands. Critics argued that the movement was being swallowed by the market, leading to a watering down of the original holistic philosophy in favor of input substitution, replacing a synthetic chemical with a natural one without changing the overall industrial farming model. The modern era, regenerative and beyond. Today, the organic movement is entering its next phase. We are moving beyond just farming without chemicals and to a regenerative organic agriculture. Led by the Rodale Institute and brands like Patagonia, the regenerative movement focuses on carbon sequestration. It's not just about doing less harm, it's about actively healing the planet. By using cover crops, reducing tillage, and integrating livestock, regenerative farmers are turning their fields into carbon sinks to help combat climate change. The tech revolution in organics. The movement has also gone high-tech. Modern organic farmers use satellite imagery to monitor soil moisture and crop health. Robotic weeders that use lasers or mechanical arms to pull weeds, eliminating the need for herbicides. Blockchain technology to provide 100% transparency in the supply chain, allowing you to scan a QR code on a tomato and see exactly which farm it came from. Why the history matters today? When J.I. Rodale started his experimental farm in 1942, he was a lone voice in the wilderness. Today, organic is a $60+ billion industry in the U.S. alone. But the core mission hasn't changed. The history of the organic movement teaches us that our health is a reflection of our environment. Whether you are a gardener, a farmer, or just someone who cares about what they eat, you are part of this continuing story. The movement started with a handful of people who dared to believe that nature knew best. 8 decades later, the world is finally catching up. The ultimate goal of farming is not the growing of crops, but the cultivation and perfection of human beings. Masanobu Fukuoka. The journey from Rodale's first compost pile to today's global regenerative standards shows us that organic isn't a trend, it's a return to balance.